Okay, welcome back to返學 DSE biology section. So in this topic, we were talking about the nutrition and also gas exchange in plants. So first of all, let's understand why we need to talk about the nutrition in plants. So for the plants, they can undergo photosynthesis. Here is the chemical reaction of photosynthesis. Here is the product, that is the glucose. And in this process, light and chlorophyll are both required. And then with the product of glucose and also with its intermediates, lipid and proteins are synthesized. So we can make enzymes, chlorophyll, cell membrane, cell wall, etc. based on that. So that's why we also call plants as autotrophs, which means that they can make their own food. Why it is necessary? Because the plants serve as a producer, such a basic food source, either directly or indirectly to support all the organisms. And similar to human, they are also requiring some minerals in order to make this happen. So for the minerals required, we call them the major elements and also trace elements. For the major elements, you have to remember the first four, that is nitrogen, phosphate, potassium, and magnesium. And for the rest, if you can do it, we will be very happy. If you can't, just remember the first four. They are required in a large amount and they are critical for the growth. As for the format of this section, similar to the nutrition in human, you have to understand the source of it and the function of the substance and also the deficiency related to it. Take nitrogen as an example. The major form in soil is nitrite, that is the NO3-. You have to absorb it from the soil, and the function is to produce it is synthesize proteins, because for proteins it contains a lot of amino acids, and for amino acids nitrogen is a required element. And if you don't have enough proteins, which means you have suffered poor growth and also yellow leaves. And for phosphate, it is taken in as the PO4 3-, and it is required for the synthesis of the nucleic acid. And if you don't have enough phosphate, you will have purple patch on your leaves. And for potassium, it is taken in as the K+, that is potassium ion, and it is required for photosynthesis. If you don't have enough of it, you will have dark color of the leaf edges. And for magnesium, this is very critical, so you remember that well. And for magnesium, it is needed for the synthesis of the chlorophyll. If you don't have enough chlorophyll, then you will also suffer from yellow leaves. And then in your book, there are quite a number of experiments related to testing different major elements. You have to understand the rationale behind and the dependent variable and independent variable inside. After understanding the nutrition in plants, we moved on to the gas exchange in plants. So there are major two reactions affecting the gas exchange, that is photosynthesis. Photosynthesis means that the carbon dioxide will go into the plant and oxygen will go out as a byproduct. And for the respiration, the plants will have to take in the carbon dioxide, take in the oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. So it is like a counterpart of each other. And the method of exchange is by diffusion, because they don't have legs, so they have to move on by diffusion, that is down the concentration gradient, and mainly through leaves, even though that stems and roots can also have gas exchange taking place. And as leaves are so critical, so we have to understand the structure in the leaves. So for the outermost layer, there's the cuticles, it is to reduce the water loss. And then for the upper layer, we call the upper epidermis, and for the lower one, we call the lower epidermis, because the sunshine from this direction, they will protect the inner cell, and they do not have chlorophyll, which means that they cannot happen photosynthesis. And then for the upper epidermis, you will find the pelastostatic mesophylls, and for the lower one, you will find the spongy mesophylls. If you can't remember their specific names, just say mesophyll is fine. Both of them contains chlorophyll, and they are required for photosynthesis. Then they appear green in color. And in order to exchange like human, we have the lung, and for the leaves, they have a stroma, because they need a place for the gas exchange. So it is the opening mainly in the lower epidermis, because in this example, it's the classic terrestrial dicotyledon plants. And then for these structures, the gas exchange will occur in here. And it is the major site of the gas exchange. And it is surrounded by the gas cell. The gas cell will also have the chlorophyll. And then in the leaves, there are two vascular bundle tissues. They are called the xylem and the phloem. For the xylem is to transport water and minerals, and for the phloem is to transport food. In this kind of microscopic diagrams, for the xylem, in the edges of it, there's the outermost layer of it, usually is darker in color or thicker in color to represent it is xylem. And how gas exchange can be taken in? First of all, the gas have to go in through the stroma, and then in the airspace, the gas will dissolve in the water film and then go into the cell, and then by diffusion and sharing, and then the gas can go into the neighboring cells. So there is the text explanation of the process, and here is the simplified pathway for the process. And this is how the gases can come out of the leaves. It's actually the reverse of what is taking place in the previous line. The snail will share the gas because of diffusion, there is the concentration gradient, and then eventually it will arrive in the airspace and then dissolve through the moist surface of the mesophyll. It will then diffuse into the stroma and leave the leaves. So in order to facilitate diffusion, there are some structural adaptation. And similar to other concepts in biology curriculum, you at most remember 2 to 3 will be very fine. And remember, there is a features and also functions. For leaves, they are usually broad and flat because it will provide a large surface area for gas exchange. And usually they are very thin because it will reduce the diffusion distance for gases. And here are the other structural adaptation as shown in this slide also. As previously mentioned, gas exchange also takes place in the stem because for herbicides plants, the stem are also covered with a stroma, and for the woody plants, they will take place in the lettuce. And for the roots, because there is no cuticles, thereby gas exchange can also happen. However, for the roots and stem, they only contribute a small portion of the total gas exchange of plant. And for the light intensity, it can affect the gas exchange. How? We are talking about the net uptake and net release of gases, and we are comparing two reactions, that is the respiration and photosynthesis. To be exact, we are comparing their rate. For respiration, it is usually in a constant rate, so it is not affected by the light intensity. However, for photosynthesis, it is greatly affected by the light intensity. If more light is given, then the rate is increased. Which means that in the daytime, with a higher rate of photosynthesis than the rate of respiration, there is a net uptake of carbon dioxide and a net release of oxygen. And in nighttime, because the photosynthesis is completely stopped and there is only respiration, which means that there is a net uptake of oxygen and a net release of carbon dioxide. And there is a point called a compensation point, which means that there is no net exchange of gases. So here is a classic diagram talking about the exchange. So with an x-axis of the light intensity and the y-axis of the net release or uptake of carbon dioxide. So here is the graph. So you may see there is an increasing trend and then flatten off. So this is a point where no net exchange of carbon dioxide happens. And upon to this region, there is no significant increase of the net uptake of carbon dioxide, even though you are increasing the light intensity, because there are other factors limiting the rate of photosynthesis. And in order to investigate that, you have to use a hydrogen carbonate indicator. The standard color is red, and if more carbon dioxide is provided, it will appear to be yellow. And another method is by measuring the pressure, because for more carbon dioxide produced, usually the pressure will drop because the carbon dioxide will dissolve readily in solution. And here is an extract from the HKEAA paper talking about what we should understand about this chapter. This is about the gas exchange in different parts of plants and how the gas exchange in leaves happens. So this will be the end of today's sharing. So I hope to see you guys next time. Bye.